So for those of you that have been following me for many years and the tens of thousands of you that have joined over the last few weeks know my style is slightly different than everyone else. You'll see in the comments below, well, Justice, just get to the point. Well, that is not the point of this channel. No, what we do here is we tell a story, we build a narrative so we can build understanding. I don't do talking points and sound bites. If you want that, there's X and there's a multitude of platforms and people who do that for you. No, here we build a narrative to build deeper understanding. And the story we're going to be talking about today is this amazing couple and the tragedy that fell upon them and an announcement made and what just occurred over the last 24 hours that when Erika sees it, hell hath no fury like a woman scorn. And rightfully so, mind you. I hope you know the announcement that was made, and you'll soon know what occurred over the last 24 hours to show you. Did you think anything's going to change? Do you think one side of the aisle's going to retreat back off and change their ways? No. All they demand, all they hope for is a narrative shift. And they're not going to get it. Because no one's standing down nor accepting it anymore. When I play these for you, you will understand exactly why they are making a huge miscalculation. And that's the story I'll bring you in just a few seconds. For those of you who went to Facebook yesterday, and I got to ask you a favor, a lot of you put friend requests through, and I appreciate that. But there's a limit as to how many friends can be accepted on Facebook. Those of you who followed my Facebook page, you can have a limitless amount of followers, and that's what I ask you to do whenever you go to Facebook. Follow my page. That way you'll still see all the posts, because there's only so many friends I can accept, and I do appreciate you all going there. A post went up yesterday, and I want to thank each and every one of you who've supported not only my public platform, but our private platform. As you saw, over the last 20 days, I've accumulated 1 million video views. That's how much this message is resonating with people. Over now 20,000 new subscribers, and that is because of each and every one of you. Today could be and should be a landmark day. On the public platform, I am hoping we cross 100,000 subscribers. That is something that I've been working a very, very long time on, and I want to thank each and every one of you for doing that. If you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe, add to that number. We'll cross 100,000, and guess what? I'll work harder, as I do every day, not only on the public platform, but the private platform. That I can't tell you how happy Lisa was last night, how happy I was last night at how many of you went to our private platform and realized what our news channel is all about. Thank you for joining us there. Thank you for hearing the messages that we can only put there, no commercials, no interruptions, and subscribing and becoming a member of our family. It is something we put our blood, sweat, and tears into to build because we knew what was coming. We knew that we needed a platform to bring you the news unfiltered, uncensored, no interruptions, no commercials, and that is restrictedrepublic.com. I want you there today. Now we're going to talk about another family, and we are going to honor the memory of Mr. Kirk, but not through the way you would traditionally do it. Now, we're going to take a little different tact here, in my moderated style, of course, but first a couple bit of updates for you. I hope you heard this. James Comer announcing yesterday, Joe Biden's former chief, Jeff Zients, just dropped the most explosive testimony yet in the GOP oversight's probe into Biden's auto pen. Did you hear what happened? Oh, we found out some major news. Who was controlling the auto pen? What was happening in the White House? New York Post coming out. Ex-Biden chief of staff called for post-debate cognitive test. You didn't hear about that when he was in the White House now, did you? Because that side of the aisle only wants select stories out when it's convenient for their narrative only. And that relates to our story today. But let's listen to here. Because Comer asked you to go listen to Jesse Waters, who made this announcement yesterday.
Biden's chief of staff, Jeff Zients, testified today. He said Biden's decision-making slowed down during his term. Decisions that took 3 meetings eventually required 4. Jill Biden ordered the chief of staff to change the president's schedule so he could sleep more. And Zients admitted that Hunter Biden was in meetings and directly involved in pardons. Why was he in meetings? And what pardons? All the drug dealers? All 4,000 of them?
Hunter Biden was in meetings concerning presidential pardons. The fact that none of these folks spoke up during the administration should be of paramount concern, but again, only information when they choose, you deserve it, because everything they want is already done. But you see, they have a propensity to not be able to hold back, not moderate their opinions, only tell you what they want you to hear. Now, of course, we still have backlash coming out of the Jimmy Kimmel suspension. And mind you, that was the choice of a private company to suspend Jimmy Kimmel. The president can say whatever he wants to say, right or wrong, but it is the choice of a private company to terminate or suspend a host. But everybody seems to forget that, and we saw a reaction from a multitude of hosts, and I'm not going to play them. You can hear it if you want. From Jimmy Fallon, all the way to my least favorite, Stephen Colbert, which there's not much to play except for this one soundbite.
But tonight, we are all Jimmy Kimmel.
Can't help himself, can he? Tonight, we are all Jimmy Kimmel. You see the mockery in that statement alone? Because what does that resonate to you? Because to me, we are all Charlie Kirk. You see, they can't help themselves. They're not going to change. Just by that statement alone, you cannot mock and compare the assassination of Charlie Kirk to the termination of Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert. How dare you? And Erika has to hear all this. Just imagine. Imagine if you were her. Now, I am sure she is far more moderated than I would be in her reaction. Jon Stewart had his, and of course, Seth Meyers had a reaction also. But I'm going to use Seth Meyers as an example, because Seth Meyers brought out many people and many examples as to how and who spoke against the termination of Jimmy Kimmel. But let's not forget the hypocrisy, shall we? So I'll take them piece by piece. Every one he referenced, every soundbite he referenced. Chris Hayes was one. But let's not forget what Chris Hayes said, because if you're going to use him as the quintessential example of how Jimmy Kimmel should not be terminated, then they better be on the up and up and consistent on everyone. Right? Well, not so much.
ABC made the announcement that Kimmel would indeed be taken off the air indefinitely. And this is just the latest chapter in Donald Trump's ongoing campaign to crack down on free speech, dominate the media, and essentially render the First Amendment meaningless. So it was for the journeyman cable news host Tucker Carlson, just fired from his third network. He believed he could say anything, no matter how vile, no matter how disgusting, no matter how offensive, no matter how dehumanizing. You will become unpopular on the national stage. That's just like a basic principle. Over time, probably not going to work out well for you.
So which is it? Which one do you want to stand on? I guess the narrative shifts, doesn't it? It's different for either side, but again, that's why your ratings are tanking and no one's watching the networks anymore, as President Trump has said time and time again. Then Seth Meyers references Barack Obama. Now, Barack Obama is the quintessential example of freedom of speech, right? He never intruded on freedom of speech. He never caused any issues, now did he? As a matter of fact, Barack Obama came out and said, after years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it into a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. Because you never did anything like that, now did you, Barack? Reporters say White House sometimes demands changes to press pool reports. Well, that was during your administration, Barack. Press kicked out of Obama Q&A, and that was obviously during your administration, Barack. Or AP fact check, Obama was harsh against leakers, anyone who talked to the press. Well, they didn't meet with very good consequences, and that was during the Obama administration. Or Fox News reporters secretly monitored by the Obama administration. Man, that is the quintessential examples of freedom of speech. I guess when you do it cloak and dagger, it's okay, huh? You see, it's the hypocrisy that if I was running Turning Point, would be extremely troublesome for me right now. The hypocrisy that is being spewed out everywhere. This was the Obama administration too, by the way. Former federal contract employees sentenced to 13 months in prison for disclosing national defense information to Fox News. Or under sweeping subpoenas, Justice Department obtained AP phone records in leak investigation under the Obama administration. So let's be careful before we start calling people names now, shall we, Obama? Let's watch out for the air of hypocrisy that's very dangerous. When you're saying that we need to cool down the rhetoric and that Trump is dividing a nation, President Trump's dividing a nation, are you not doing the same by not being honest in what you did in your past? All we do here is simply provide the receipts. It's always what I've done, putting things in a very black and white format, telling a story, actually providing journalism with evidence, not just sitting here spewing talking points. And then, of course, he references Jimmy Kimmel himself, which should be the quintessential example of never mocking another person for being terminated, correct? Because he's on his high horse, isn't he?
Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson. After all these years, they are parting ways, which means he was fired. I mean, that's really what parting ways means. Tucker couldn't be reached for comment. He's already on a plane to Moscow to meet with his manager. But what a shock. I mean, what an absolutely delightful shock.
So cry me a river, Jimmy. Cry me a river. What goes around comes around. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Just putting the facts out there again. It's not my words. It's their own words. And it's so easy to do. Knowing, again, the announcement that just came out on Erika Kirk. Remember, if you don't know it yet, don't worry. We're going to get there rather quickly. Unanimous. Senate passes Day of Remembrance resolution for Charlie Kirk. That should have been a fairly easy decision. But unfortunately, the House is struggling with it. Tensions erupt among House Dems over vote to honor Charlie Kirk. Did you hear about this? Now, let's understand the House Democrats, shall we? And some House Republicans too, mind you, who chose not to censure Ilhan Omar. We're not forgetting that, nor forgiving that. But there was something that you should be very careful with right now, something that's very incendiary to a large populace, not only Republican, but Democrat and moderate alike. And that is this term, fascist. People are now realizing how incendiary that is. As a matter of fact, remember, even during the press conference involving Charlie Kirk's assassin, listen in here.
Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch.
Simple fact. Something right now, if you're sitting in the House of Representatives, you probably want to avoid. Knowing any reference to continually calling anyone a fascist or a Nazi is simply there to throw gas on the flames. And you would probably, if you had any normal nature, avoid that and maybe make your argument a different way. And if you didn't, the only reason you would be doing that is to prove to America that you're not going to stop. Did you view it as normal and acceptable and perfectly within your rights to go ahead and continue to do that, even though it could have resulted because of the hatred built in an assassination of Charlie Kirk? What sort of person would not only do it, but admit it's absolutely okay?
Fight for civil rights. We can't be passive right now. So nobody over there should take anything we say like so personally as if we're attacking them. No, we're attacking a process. We're not attacking people here. And I think it's really important. We need to stand up against this fascist takeover. That's not a bad word. It's a fact. And here in DC and across the country, it is so incredibly important, Mr. Chair, that this committee does not allow rhetoric that defames and or paints Washington D.C. in a way that you all haven't really truly seen. You're just reading it. No, you're just reading it or something off of some.
Will the gentlelady yield to a question?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Will the gentlelady
yield? No, I don't yield. I don't even have time. I can tell you.
Your time's expired.
It is expired, but
Tlaib,
Mr. Chair,
been,
but you all live
like
here,
Mr.
and
Tlaib.
you're not telling people the beautiful parts that you do see in our nation's
Tlaib.
capital. And no, it's just wrong how we're doing it.
Chairman, I think it's insane that the gentlelady doesn't have an argument, but she's going to refer to me and some of my colleagues.
Mr. Donald,
we were from the Third Reich. This is insane.
You're going to look at 14, 15-year-olds as a bunch of criminals?
It's insane.
Oh,
do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Ms. Tlaib? Is that what I look like to you?
You're the one taking your voting card.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think it's insane. And I'll respect everything that you say. But to say something like that to myself and a lot of my colleagues is way out of line. It's way out of line. It's way out of line.
Regular order, Mr.
Way out of line.
Regular order.
That's okay. But it's okay, right?
That is not how it goes.
It's okay, right?
You hold yourself accountable before you talk about
Hold myself accountable. Hold your own self accountable. How about that? Hold your own self accountable. How about that?
Free DC and make sure you vote with your own voting card. Don't be giving it to somebody else.
Tlaib.
To me, the most powerful clip of yesterday. It's not over yet. That is still being spewed within any committee, anywhere in Capitol Hill, in the fashion that Rashida Tlaib just spewed it, can be deemed not acceptable anywhere to literally still call as a fact one of a U.S. political party fascists after what occurred and pretend it is normal. As a matter of fact, what was her exact quote? We need to stand up against the fascist takeover. That's not a word. It's a fact. Byron Donalds took exception with that. Do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you? Right now, if arguing makes you uncomfortable, get prepared, because folks aren't standing down. Now imagine for a moment you're Erika Kirk, and you're hearing this after what just happened to your husband, and she is hearing this. It's been 8 days since a leftist assassin shot my friend Charlie Kirk from Byron Donalds. Just now, Rashida Tlaib just called us fascist again. The rhetoric is wrong. The rhetoric is unhinged. The rhetoric is out of line. The rhetoric has inspired murder. We will not stand to be defamed. Now, the worst thing that could happen to the Democrats at this point in time, outside of the fact that they wouldn't allow for a moment of silence, remember this, when it was requested for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk, yet they had no problem for a moment of silence for George Floyd, now did they? And that truly paints the picture. It should tell you everything you need to know. Why? What did each person represent? You see, there's a different sort of mindset out there, but from the point of them kneeling for George Floyd to now, nothing has changed. Remember, that was George Floyd had a rap sheet. a record, and they knelt for him. Charlie Kirk simply was exercising free speech, and they wouldn't have a moment of silence. And why? Because of statements like this, you know nothing's changed. Jasmine Crockett.
So I do want people to know that just because someone has committed a crime, it doesn't make them a criminal.
You see how when you just do your research and are an actual journalist, that you don't have to just go ahead and spew your own opinions. You simply use the opinions of the people themselves. Just because someone commits a crime doesn't make them a criminal. Representative Jasmine Crockett, this isn't over yet. This event has changed none of their minds. So what's the worst thing that can happen to them? Imagine you are Erika Kirk. You remember what your husband warned.
My fear, Senator, and I hope I'm wrong, and let's say stay in prayer that I'm wrong, that someone is going to get shot the same way that Steve Scalise got shot, and God forbid, killed. The left is creating a pressure cooker with so many of their rank and file paramilitary troops that very well might result in one of us getting shot or killed. God forbid that happens.
Prophetic. Now, that's the man you're married to. You're Erika Kirk. You understand the repercussions of you understand what happened after he stated that. Tyler Bauer, part of Turning Point, comes out. We've received thousands and thousands of death threats after that statement was made. Charlie never complained about them or lived in fear. Our security detail, working with authorities, have thwarted dozens of serious threats, but he would never give up. He stared evil in the eye and tried to win them over. You know that when you're Erika. You know that happened. You know how many death threats he received. You had to live with that every day, to the point that you had to watch your husband. You had to know your children witnessed him being assassinated live on TV. Most people would run. Most people would fear for their lives. You heard his warning. You heard his words. He told everyone what was coming as we reported alongside him. Similar facts, seeing a trend that was rising up that nobody wanted to accept because it was so hard for the average person outside of people and you who watched these broadcasts. You understood what was rising up. But those who watch mainstream media never understood it because they lived in a leftist soundbox of isolation, that it was the right who was causing the problems. But you're Erika Kirk and you understand what's happening. Your husband warns, you receive death threats, and now your husband dies. And you have to listen on the House floor to people still calling people fascists afterwards and deeming it as perfectly acceptable, knowing the history of what just occurred. But you don't stand down, and you don't run away. You stand in front of the nation and give one of the bravest speeches you can ever give, fighting back tears as much as you can. But that's not enough. Because now you're going to honor the memory of your husband. And I promise you, if anything happened to my wife, I would do the same. But my reaction would probably be not as kind and gentle as hers. But behind the scenes, don't believe for a minute that these Democrats have not made a huge miscalculation, because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And you can correct the vernacular of that quote as much as you would like. You can, and I know many keyboard warriors will. And I understand the origin, but that is not the point of making the statement. Everybody knows what I mean by it. So the announcement's made. The Turning Point USA board announces with great pride that Erika Kirk, Charlie's widow, will lead the organization as the new CEO and chair. And one side of the aisle should be very concerned, because they're not slowing down their rhetoric anymore, are they? King Solomon wrote that mankind is to be tested by God. Today we are facing such a test, yet we all know that God has prepared us with everything we need to overcome this ordeal. It was the honor of our lives to serve as board members at Charlie's side. Charlie prepared us for a moment like this one. He worked tirelessly to ensure Turning Point USA was built to survive even the greatest tests. And now, it is our great pride to announce Erika Kirk as the new CEO and chair of the board for Turning Point USA. Charlie always said we have a country to save. We will not surrender or kneel before evil. We will not kneel before evil. We will carry on. The attempt to destroy Charlie's work will become our chance to make it more powerful and enduring than ever before, because now not only have you made him a martyr, but you left a legacy behind. You left a powerful woman. You left a woman, Scorn, behind, who's not going to stop. And with the faith and power of God behind her, will show no fear. And the more you fuel her fire, which you're doing every day, you have no idea the beast you are unleashing. May God bless Erika, the Kirk family, and the entire team at Turning Point USA. I guess that should strike a chord with anyone, huh? A family that gives their life to God and to country, to family. The three things we represent. And there's people who have the audacity, the cruelty, to sit on the House floor and continue to call people fascists. What goes through their mind? It takes every ounce of energy not to call them specifically what they are for doing that. And I will be praying for Erika and her family and the legacy of Charlie Kirk. And I will work day and night to assure that the information needed to frame this in the most black and white moderated format possible is achieved. Love can overcome everything. And when I see hatred rising up, I will do everything I can to quell it down, as difficult and as painful as it is. These folks are young. They had so much runway left, and it was stripped away. But for her, she ain't going to surrender. And if anybody knows them well enough, I will vest my full power to provide whatever support they need through my medium. And please let them know that, because I won't let the legacy die. And I will not stand down, because I will not allow them to vilify what was a peaceful movement. I love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless Justice Night. Signing out.